All right, so this is Todd Atkins, and I am here with Shane Garrett, Michael Hanson, and Miguel Iturrate, and we're going to talk UFC 263 and also De La Hoya versus Belfort. So, Miguel, I'll let you introduce yourself first.
Hi, I'm Miguel. I don't know. Todd had me on one time for an interview, and I really enjoy being here. So we'll just talk fights. That's what I like to do.
And Michael.
Yeah, hi, I'm Michael. I also am a Todd Atkins show repeat guest now. I have the pleasure of saying that, and I'm a professional ring announcer. I've done both kickboxing, Muay Thai, and MMA, and yeah, likewise, like Miguel, I also I can talk fights till the cows come home. So glad to be here.
And Miguel did a ton of promoting, so he's kind of selling himself short historically, but that's all right. And then Shane.
Oh, we can gladly make the show about me. I'll take it.
Right.
Here's a guy I booked. Go ahead, Shane.
Yeah, for sure. Miguel and I go way back. I fought a few times in my life. I just still follow the fights pretty regularly. Repeat Todd Atkins myself. So I appreciate you having me on here, and we'll just get this knocked out.
Now you want to talk about somebody short selling themselves. Come on, Todd. Nah, Shane. I mean, Shane fought UFC veteran Aaron Riley in a fight for that era that everybody remembers. So it's not like he just fought a couple of times. He fought good guys.
Well, I appreciate
Indeed.
that. Thank you.
Okay, so maybe I'm just going to talk. I'll just kind of let you guys do everything here. So let's talk Fredo Moreno. I'll start with one different person on each three fights. So we'll start with Miguel first.
And you want to talk about Davison and Brandon Moreno?
Yes.
First? Okay. Figueiredo seemed to me to be a guy that got crowned kind of like, a top pound for pound guy. And he had some spectacular performances, especially, he had a run when he got the title, the fights with Benavidez, obviously. He's top dog. He was top dog there and well established, but like a little bit of almost like a little extra laud, praise went his way that I felt he hadn't quite earned yet. And maybe, that showed itself here. I think, you had a guy that he's been sharp. He was sharp, but I don't know how much he's evolving, whereas Moreno seemed to have caught up to him and now surpassed him and evolved him. And I think all those storylines played out in that fight. And I think it's nice for Moreno. Is a great story. And, Figueiredo got there when he was older. We'll see if he can even get back.
Michael?
I feel like Moreno Figueiredo 1 is one of my more recent fights in recent memory. It was like notes of TJ Dillashaw, Renan Barão 1 and 2, in that Figueiredo was this Brazilian phenom who was just mowing everybody down. I mean, think about what he did to Joseph Benavidez. And, in comes this sort of baby face, hence his nickname, the baby assassin or assassin baby, and who just stands toe to toe with this guy. I mean, Figueiredo, he walks down his opponents like he's a varsity football player about to take money from a middle schooler. Like he just has very little respect, it seems. And his hands are down. He's just exuding this incredible intensity. Like he's just this juggernaut. And Moreno, it was like a Rocky Balboa story in that first fight. And had it not been for the tremendous nut shot, it could have really been fight of the year for me. So I had high hopes going into the second fight. I was hoping for, a performance that could at least live up to the first one. I was really crossing my fingers and hoping that Figueiredo wasn't going to just, blow through him in like the first round. And man, we got the exact opposite. It was like an emotional moment for me, for the entire country of Mexico. And I mean, couldn't be happier for Brandon Moreno, man.
That's a great rundown of it. I felt like I'll draw off personal experience here. For Figueiredo, it's hard to get better when you're doing so well, right? Like I didn't fight a whole lot, but I just felt that throughout my career. I always felt I was going to win no matter what. There's, I trained hard, but then you show up and it doesn't go your way. Well, he hadn't had anything not go his way in a long time. And like you said, he just walks his opponents down with confidence. He has skills everywhere, but I think he took the assassin lightly, Moreno lightly, thinking, yeah, I know what he's about now, and I'm going to have a good camp, so I'm going to go out there and just do what I do and take him out. Whereas Moreno spent that 6 months to get better and strategically designing a game plan to beat him. And when it came fight night, Moreno showed up and executed, and Figueiredo he was on that same game plan. There wasn't, he didn't elevate himself for the fight like the challenger did, and he lost his title. But he was very respectful in his loss. You had to appreciate that. And I agree with you. I got a little emotional. I'm not a big Moreno fan. I've only saw him fight a handful of times. But to see it and his passion, live it out there in the octagon, man, props to that dude. We're going to see some good fights in that division from both guys still moving forward. They may even, end up with a trilogy after a couple of fights with different people, hopefully.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, these guys are getting bigger too, huh? Because that was David. That was one of the big differences between Figueiredo and Benavidez to me, was that Figueiredo was big, and now Moreno's long and and big, and just these guys are just it's a constant evolution.
And maybe Figueiredo goes up in weight and has some success there. We've seen that with a lot of fighters. So maybe who knows?
I mean, that was a big storyline going into this second fight between the two of them, is that Figueiredo made weight with only something like 40 seconds left in his allotted time.
Right.
I mean, Shane, in your experience fighting, and I'm assuming cutting weight at certain points, I mean, how much does it drain you if you have to go through a big cut?
I was never the person to do that. I fought from 155 to 185 throughout my fights, and even when I fought at 55, I made the decision that I was dieting down. I didn't never do a hard cut because I never wanted the adverse effects. Now, I trained with a lot of wrestlers, and that's how they chose to do it, but that was just never something I would put myself through.
Yeah, no, I think that's astute though, Mike. I think that is definitely with 40 seconds left, there's something wrong. There's something wrong at that level. And, it may just be like one of those X factors. You can't put your finger on it. But there was something, you start checking off those boxes and they're all going Moreno's way pre-fight, all during the fight and stuff like that. And then you have a run for it. And it was nice. And a belt is never one of the things that surprised me, isn't Tito Ortiz Mexican? Isn't
he's not Mexican born though. He wasn't.
Okay, but and I can understand not wanting, but Cain Velasquez, come on,
he's from Arizona, isn't he?
But he's Mexican descent. Come on,
his last name is Velasquez. Come on,
and he's from Arizona. Obviously, he's Mexican.
Yeah. I mean.
But no, hats off to Figueiredo, to Moreno too for that. A nice touch, and I think a touch you see, in other big sporting events, football and stuff like that, where nationalism and pride of that type really has a role to play, and it's awesome. It's awesome to see. I hope he becomes a huge star.
Yeah, if we were going to get into the first people, I would say it was Frank Shamrock or Frank Juarez, who was the first UFC champion of Mexican descent, for sure.
There you go. There you go. I mean,
there you go, Todd.
Not to the Mexicans, obviously.
Take down some old school knowledge.
So let's go on to Diaz Edwards. Obviously, this has had some interesting storylines of its own. I'm going to let Michael go first because you're the next one around. So.
Okay. Oh God.
Yeah.
Where do you?
What are you going to say?
We're going to throw you into it.
Dissecting this one. I have a little more, I think, of a hot take on this one. Nate Diaz nearly finished Leon Edwards. He landed a significant left straight at pretty much the 4-minute even mark of the 5th round. Instead of swarming his opponent. He proceeds to flip him off and point at him and laugh, and wastes enough time that Leon Edwards actually survived. The punch itself almost knocked him out on his feet. But God, I don't know, you guys are probably going to disagree with me. I had a buddy who said, oh, it goes to show you can never count out Nate Diaz. And of course that's true to a great degree, but I mean, we hadn't seen Nate Diaz employ those kinds of tactics in a fight like his brother has. Like Nick Diaz versus obviously Anderson Silva is the biggest one that comes to mind. I feel like as the Diaz brothers are getting later and later into their careers, and they're getting older and they're still facing this top competition. I mean, look, I'm not a professional fighter. Shane, you could talk to this in terms of the stress and the stakes are so high that they go into this sort of street fight mode where they're going to do literally anything. Nate, he turned his back. He put his hands on his knees in the first round. He at certain times he was walking away. It seemed he was doing like this kind of motion. Like, I'm like, is he quitting? And then he would just sort of turn around quickly and try to rush Edwards and land a punch. To me, it was similar to when the first round bell rings and one guy goes out to the center and goes for the traditional fist bump, and the other guy fakes a fist bump or doesn't even fist bump at all and tries to sneak a punch in at that very first 3 seconds. Nate was kind of doing that. To me, that's what Nate was doing like the whole fight. All this sort of, to me, like kind of bullshit tactics, for lack of a better term, that I feel like one day I'm gonna meet Nate Diaz. He's gonna kick my ass for saying this.
Oh, he'll definitely slap the shit out of you if he feels like it. I mean, that's why I'm gonna be careful what I say about Nate.
Like he's the fucking boogeyman or something.
I mean, if you don't, you'll get this shit slapped out of you and be all over Instagram.
That's right.
I mean, Mike, you make some good points. He did do some bizarre things that I don't think I'd seen him do, like turning his back to Edwards and kind of trying to act like Genki Sudo a little bit. I don't know if you ever saw him.
Yeah.
He did.
I think you guys know what I'm trying to say.
I think the other – I'm sorry to jump in, but I think the other thing that plays into that is that there was like a staleness to it, or it didn't work for him the way it did for Nick. Not in the fight, not Leon Edwards. Leon Edwards wasn't full one bit, and then it became a little tedious too.
So I kind of think Nate might have just been having fun with it. Because Because I mean, he's getting paid handsomely. He's going out there and putting his fucking, he's not trying to take the easy way out at least. He's staying in there, taking his lumps, almost finishes the guy. Did Leon win the fight? Absolutely. Hands down, he won the fight. But to me, I just felt at the fight, Nate was in good spirits. Normally, he's kind of like, fuck you, fuck everything. He was in very high spirits, quotation marks. Having a party, like him and Leon squashed the beef. I think he's just enjoying this stage of his career because he's getting paid so fucking well now, all of this time. And he's still willing to go out there and go out on his shield and put on a show for us. Did it work out in his favor? No. I wanted to see the Nate that shows up and box up, Cowboy and Jim Miller.
Absolutely.
And I thought that was absolutely possible because he's made some people look really bad with his awkward style. But, it wasn't working out for him. He had a different strategy. He took some lumps. But, I mean, like everybody else is saying, his stock still rises. He can get another fight and make another couple million. He can do this 3 or 4 more times and retire, and he's going to be happy.
You make a good point. So the fight for him, the result isn't all that important. He's getting paid. The rest doesn't really matter. That's a good point, Shane.
But he doesn't take the easy way out. He could put himself in there. He fucking goes out there and fights his fucking heart out because he's a fucking G. Like, I'm a big fan of Nate and Nick just because of that. they could easily just cash in on their fame and take it, have a hard first round and kind of give up, but they don't. If it's a tough fight, they're there till the fucking end, and they might fucking still win.
Yeah.
What do you got, Miguel?
You say he could retire, and you're literally talking about a guy, and we haven't seen this before, but he could literally go and do a reality TV show, Kardashian style, and make next level money because of the character he's built. And you can't, I don't think Ronda would have held up under that type of scrutiny. This guy's character is held up for 10 years, more or less, because, like you said, he's real. After the fight, there was a comment where Leon Edwards said, he said, don't let, name your price or they'll name it for you. Something like that was, I think, the quote that was going around. And that's where you see he's becoming a transcendental personality, is that he's actually trying to take care of this guy and help him out in life. Yeah, that's life advice. Whether you want to add, whatever the circumstances, or there's, it's kind of frivolous the way it went down to and stuff. But he does what he's on another level, like at all levels. That's what Nate Diaz is at this point. But I think Mike brought up a good point too, is that, we're talking about a guy that started fighting and always was that street fighter type of kid. The videos of him fighting at 16 and stuff like that. He doesn't like to lose. He understands the business now. He doesn't get mad every time, but he doesn't like to lose. He does like to compete. And maybe he'll retire afterwards, but he's one of the few. He's the only guy really set up that he could actually do something where he'd be a bigger star afterwards. Everybody else is just downhill from there, including his brother, who is just more of a recluse.
And they've already made several millions, and they've invested, and they're building brands in, cannabis and things like that. I understand they've got financial advisors,
Yeah, they were always smart about that.
So they're not going to – they're just doing this to make that extra cheddar and entertain us hardcore MMA fans that appreciate someone that'll go out on their shield, man.
Right. And the Diaz are always going to get big fights, man. I mean, the UFC is going to continue to squeeze as much juice out of these oranges.
Please do, long as they're willing to do it.
It's interesting how people look at the fight, though, because if he hadn't landed that punch, I think we'd be back here saying he doesn't have anything left. He got belted the whole fight. But because he did land the punch, people are like, oh, he almost won. He could beat Edwards,
He can legitimately beat Edwards. He can legitimately beat most welterweights. I mean, there's some that definitely have a higher level of favor, but generally with in the top 10, I mean, I think Nate's not more than like a plus 200 on many of them, except maybe Usman. I mean, you don't think he can't beat Burns? I absolutely think he can box Burns up.
It'll be a very interesting matchup.
Because, I mean, we saw Burns look good and land a great shot on Maya, but he got melted by Usman.
He'll beat Burns before the fight.
You think so?
I think Nate, but that's a good fight for Nate too, to make another couple million, and that's a good entertainment, and that shows he can take out a top 5 guy. He's legit.
I think if Burns took him down and just hit him on the ground, Edwards was pretty effective doing that. The round stop, but I think second round or so he really busted Nate up.
But Nate can still take that, get up, and wear Burns out. I've seen Burns get tired plenty of times. Yeah. He can take it. It's going to be a 5-round fight. Nate's only going to fight 5-round fights from here on out because, so he could literally take that into deep waters and finish Burns 100%.
If he can keep from getting busted up,
I mean, I don't know if Burns has shown, oh, the meeting is?
Yeah, I don't know. It's not going to let us go this whole time, but let's talk about Vittoria Adesanya.
Snooze. I'm like, Izzy can knock anybody out in the world, and he wants to sit there and peck at him like a chicken. Like, I don't understand it. I understand being strategic, but you also need to go in there and land punches and look to really finish the fight, and I don't feel like he does that very often. Vittori looked like a deer in the headlights. He fought like shit, to be honest. I was expecting more out of him after his last couple of performances, really, because he was blending his strikes and his takedowns well. I looked to see some of that. He had absolutely nothing. I don't know. Maybe the feints and the constant jerks and twitching really affects you when you're in there and you can't get in a rhythm. But I didn't think it was a great performance by Adesanya. He won it, no doubt. But I didn't even like the fight.
What about you, Mike?
I think it was a safe fight on Adesanya's part. I mean, it was clearly a case where he was really effectively using his height and his reach, and the entire 5 rounds, you just see Vittori just not being able to reach Adesanya. Adesanya was just too tall, too long, and just too smart, too good of a kickboxer for Vittori to ever be able to hang. And once Adesanya was able to get up after that first takedown, it was a wrap.
Miguel, what do you think of it?
Yeah, no, I concur. You know, it was a situation where it was funny, the exchange after the fight where Vittori kind of seemed to, like, it seemed like Adesanya asked him what's going on, and Vittori was like, I just beat you. I think I won. Adesanya was like, you're crazy. It looked like that was the exchange where, so Vittori thinks he's winning the fight because he's expending more energy, basically, because that's all he can really, like, right? And Adesanya knows also he's winning the fight because he's in no danger whatsoever. Now, neither of those is great criteria to be judging yourself a winner of a fight. You know, you do, like Shane said, you do expect more from Adesanya. If you're in that comfortable of a mode, I do have an expectation that you're going to try to do more and not just, you know, do that for the 5 rounds. And it is interesting when and Adesanya can lay claim to that here. As much as Vittori worked, he was never in any danger in that fight. Never.
It's like Izzy wants to stay pretty. Like, I would expect him, especially with his skills, to be working some Muay Thai clinch in tight with elbows, a lot more knees, really trying to break down his opponent versus, like I said, like I like it, you know, pecking like a chicken. Like, you know, those easy strikes that keep him safe, keeps him looking good at the after party versus really getting in there and try to mess up his opponent and finish it like a Usman is now looking decisive finishes, like, because he understands that will help lay claim to his legacy later over possibly being a greater welterweight champion than GSP, because GSP had so many snoozers and lack of good finishes in his championship reign. He played it safe a lot. The fans are so casual these days. We want finishes. But I always thought you should fight as a finisher. Half Gracie years ago, I probably read it in a black belt magazine. There was a quote like, or maybe it was John Jocks, I'd rather, you know, live on my feet than die on my knees. Like, or yeah, live on my feet than die on my knees. Because why would you want to not go prove that you're the definitive better fighter? As a fighter, from my standpoint, I never thought, oh man, I can outpoint this guy. I was like, I can submit this guy or land a decent strike and put him down. Like that, those were my intentions, always going out there. I don't understand the play it safe mentality.
I don't think Vittori is fighting within his skill either. You know, he's not as quick as Adesanya at all. You know, and he's fighting on the outside. He had to get inside and fight on the fence, kind of like the Randy Couture style. He could do that with his.
Do we really think? I'm sorry, Todd. Do we really think that Vittori thought he won? I mean, I don't. Maybe he really does think that.
No, I think you're onto something. I think
maybe he thought he won a couple of rounds or something.
Yeah, I think right after the fight, I mean, Vittori is such an emotional fighter, and I think right after the fight, you know, Izzy went up to him. You know, I don't know what he said, like "good fight." And he was still, you know, in his emotions, said, what are you talking about? I won that. And, I mean, Vittori's the kind of guy, like, if and when he ever loses, I feel really bad for him, man. He doesn't take the L's very well. Because he just wants it so bad. And I just feel bad.
Well, Yeah, he fought some good fights. He didn't look good. He didn't look like himself, or like he had been performing recently. Like you said, he couldn't even get close. So maybe he felt he was in some kind of rhythm. But as watching him perform recently versus the way he performed there, I can't see how he felt that would have been his flow and his essence of a good fight to win.
Yeah, I think his best game should be wearing people down first, then going for the takedown. Wearing guys down on the fence, then trying to, like Randy Couture did as he got older. When he realized he couldn't shoot from the outside as much anymore, he started to wear guys down. By the time he took them down, they didn't have any energy to fight him on the ground. And I think that's where Vettori could make some headway, but in this fight, it wasn't going to happen because he wasn't prepared to do that.
Is Vettori, does he have some kind of wrestling pedigree that I may not be aware of?
I don't know. I don't believe so.
I don't believe he has anything. He just kind of picked it up and he's able to use his striking to get some takedowns, but he was not blending it well at all versus Adesanya.
Yeah. You know how it is. If you try to box someone who's faster than you and you're trying to hit them in the head, you're going to be swinging at air a lot of times.
Yeah.
And that's what happened with Vettori. You have to hit him to the body. It's an easier target. You're less likely to miss, and you got to wear your opponent down before you try to take him down. He doesn't have the speed or get the takedown early. He's losing it because, he's losing the position. Adesanya's not tired enough.
And another thing, very elementary thing, he didn't cut off the ring. He didn't move laterally. He was chasing him. Had he done that, he would have been able to get him on the cage a little bit more, but he was literally following him. It was really I don't mean to sound so critical because he could kick my ass, but it was just like Izzy made him look bad. It was a bad performance on his part, and Izzy took advantage of it, and made a good payday as well.
I'm less critical of Vettori in this fight than I am of Adesanya. Some of the things we pointed out. I mean, like the week of the fight, there was like a conference call, and they hated each other, and they're going to kill each other, and stuff like that. And then Adesanya is the one who didn't fight that way. Vettori tried.
Yeah.
Exactly my point, Miguel. Thank you. I agree.
Yeah, he gave a good effort, and he did do some things. He took him down a few times. He did some things effectively that other guys hadn't been able to do, for sure.
I think it is fair to say he never put him in any danger, but he worked, But and that's the problem with Adesanya is it was just a coast.
He seems to enjoy doing just enough. I think that'll be a blemish on his career if he doesn't alter that mindset. I'm not saying he should go out there and get whooped up on at all, but he should definitely engage. I mean, you're signed up for a fight. I mean, you should be taking some strikes.
Yeah.
In order to try to finish your opponent, because that's what it is, a fight. Martial arts competition.
It's both. I mean, it is a fight, but it's also a competition, and it seems like Adesanya is getting more and more content winning on points, winning it, with his kickboxing technique. And it's the contrast, and I think that's why Conor has so many fans, because as good as he is and as much as he has ascended to the highest level of the sport, Conor could fight safe. He's like, no, he's still going to go in there, and every single opponent he is going to try to blast and tire himself out in the process.
Well, this is going to cut me off. I appreciate you guys taking time to do this one. Maybe we can talk offline here right quick as I end it, and we could take this further. But I appreciate you guys all taking time to do this, and we'll do another one here soon.
Thanks for having us.